And I remember driving in and saying, man, this is nice. Like, eventually I would like to, live here. And I don't know how many years later, I'm living here, man. So you said that, I'm like, hold on, I have this. I've never told that story before.
What's up, everyone? You're tuning into the Diamond Strong podcast. It's where you come feeling good and you leave feeling great. The action starts now. It doesn't leave me alone. And when I'm not home, it's going crazy.
That's my guy. When I come home, he's super excited to see me. And when I come back from my workout, I take him for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like my meditation time.
Yeah.
And then at night, I always take him for a walk and I throw a ball, and it's kind of awesome, like calming down time. Yeah.
At what time do you go work out in the morning? Early?
6 a.m.
It's the best.
Yeah.
I sent Ricky pictures like, I just got out of the gym before the sun comes up. This is the best feeling in the world.
Isn't that, you feel like you're on top of the world?
I genuinely think it's like more for my head and my like headspace to like get out into the gym early in the morning. I don't know why.
I feel like that's how I gain my edge, man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
You feel like you're
invincible.
Well, we're not. Are we already? Huh? Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're recording.
Perfect. So Ricky knows my cousin too, right?
Yeah.
So when I moved, I was born in Miami, but I was raised in the Dominican Republic. And when we moved to Miami, I moved first. My family stayed in DR.
Mm-hmm.
I lived with Kuso, and he was a senior in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided to run a 5K every morning before school.
What?
And I was in 7th grade, and I would wake up with him and run the 5K. And I will go to school. Imagine 7th grade. Well, you're 12.
Not old enough to run a 5K. You shouldn't be.
And just imagine, I'm gonna show up to school. All the kids are like, boogers in their eyes, and I just felt like on top of everyone. I'm like, I ran a 5K. I feel like a freaking machine,
I won already.
Exactly. It will always suck waking up, but after you feel like RoboCop, you feel like Superman. So it's great.
Do you fight with the alarm in the morning?
It's a battle. It depends how late I go to sleep at night.
Mm-hmm.
Some days I just wake up before my alarm, and some days I'm like, jeez. So I read this book that is, not snoozing is the way to go.
Why do I feel like I've heard that before?
I forget in which book it talks about. I think it might be in the Atomic Habits.
Is that what's the guy that was a Navy SEAL, man?
Oh no, you're talking
the
about
one that ripped his shins apart. Something running.
Goggins.
There you go, Goggins.
It wasn't that book, but maybe he talks about it too.
I think I heard him say it. He goes, the minute I woke up, I'm a winner because I beat that alarm.
I love it.
And it's like, damn.
Love it.
It's so minimal.
Yeah.
So minimal. In college, I got one of those old style alarms because the phone didn't ring loud enough. So I got one of those and I put it away from my bed. And that's how I learned.
You had to wake up.
I had to wake up. I had to get up.
I love it. That's awesome.
No, it was crazy. But what kind of workouts do you do in the morning? Like what other, do you run still for like 5Ks and things like that?
No, I've actually never been a good runner. Long distance.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe those days I was at my best shape with the 5K, but I've always been more of a sprinter, from playing baseball. Always been a sprinter guy. Nowadays, my workouts, they change. I like to do this program. It's called 54D. And it's super high intense, lots of cardio. They have this ramp. You sprint up the ramp. It's super cool. It's
all indoor, outdoor?
Indoors. It's all ex-professional soccer players.
Mm-hmm.
So it's that kind of training. And the coaches and the environment is just phenomenal. Imagine you're for 54 days, Monday through Saturday, Sundays off. So it becomes a 9-week program. And you become very intimate with the people that are there.
Wow.
And the energy is just crazy. Like if you don't go, you feel bad. You feel like you let your teammates down. So I love that. But I just ended this Saturday, and now I'll do my own thing, and I'll start again right before the summer.
So you guys go 3 months on, 3 months off, or
yes, technically, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Well,
And
it's 2 months and 1 week.
okay, gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's insane. That's right. 9 weeks. I got it.
You will love it.
Man, that's so cool. I've never heard of that ever. But what's it called? So you guys go train, and then can somebody start right after again if they wanted to?
No,
or
so-
it's purposely 54 days. Like
It's
that's it.
54 days. Literally, it's 54D, the gym, and we
Mhm.
stand for 54 days. Now, the people that have done it more than 6 times, 6 generations, have gone through six times of the program. They're now letting you hop in 3 times a week. And right next door, they have a gym that's to lift, and you can do that. Wow. So that's what I'm going to do starting this week. But
This is like a secret society, bro. This is
it really
like,
is.
No,
it really is.
The way that you're describing it to me, I've never heard of anything like that. So it really does sound like you guys are just like your own thing.
It really is. I mean, and it's some people say it's like a cult. And I like to say that, well, it's a good cult.
Yeah, no, that's the best type of cult right there.
It's promoting health, right?
Yeah.
And good energy. Wow. So yeah, once you go in, you never want to leave. Because look, me, when I started, I'm a fitness guy.
Yeah.
So I was like, what is this thing? I don't like fitness classes. I don't know about it. I started doing it. And the first week I was like, and then you drink the Kool-Aid and you're hooked. Wow. And again, it's the environment. Everyone there, because there'll be like a 65-year-old lady and there'll be an ex-professional soccer player that's running by you. But everyone motivates you because you know that 65-year-old lady was walking and now she's jogging, and whatever is her max, she's at her max. So the goal there is to get you to your max every single day. So that's why I'm addicted to it. When you leave that class, that feeling of like, I'm sure you've been there before, of you're almost dying.
Yeah.
And you overcome that and you're like, okay, I did it. After that, your day is like, whatever comes at me, like, I'm going to freaking battle it out. I'm going to make it,
You can't lose.
Right.
You can't lose. Because for example, I tell people all the time, I like to get to that. Like, where I do my best is where I live on that edge right there. Like that.
It's addicting.
It's addicting to get to that feeling. Like, I don't want to do another box jump. I don't want to run another sprint. I don't want to do another squat. But like, you fight with it and say, I'm going to do it anyways. And you get up. Maybe you throw up, maybe you pass out, whatever. But the fact that you made that decision to go further,
right?
I think that's
and well, I'll ask you this question: doesn't it show up in other areas of your life?
Every single thing has to do with, again, going back to sports, going back to working out. Everything has to do with exactly that. When you're dealing with a client, you're like, I don't want to send this email. I don't want to try again. I don't want to give them another call. It's the same thing, right? The same thing. You go through it over and over. It's like, but do it anyways.
Yeah.
Fight that next step. Throw that next punch. Like, keep going. It's really addicting, man. You're so right.
For me, it's the core of who I am has a lot to do with playing sports and working out.
Yeah. So take me back to when you were a kid. At what age did you move to the Dominican Republic? Like, instantly? Were you like a baby?
Instantly, pretty much. Yeah.
Gotcha.
I was like, maybe 2 max.
Oh, so you don't really like remember?
I don't remember anything. All I remember is growing up in Dominican Republic, and we always came to Miami on vacations, like our summer or something like that. But I grew up there, and I moved here when I was 12. Lived with my cousins, and which it was so much fun. And then my family moved when I was 13, 8th grade, then lived here technically, all the way through high school, and then college in Tennessee, and then bounced around playing minor league baseball, and then back to Miami. It's
crazy, man. Like, do you remember kind of the first thing you fell in love with when you were a kid? Do you remember, was it baseball? Was it instantly baseball when you were a kid in Dominican Republic, or was it something else?
So, growing up, I was always around like athletes. My dad played baseball, and he was a lot into cycling, and he always had like athletes around him. But baseball, I loved playing basketball. Right in front of our house, we had a little basketball, court, and we loved playing basketball. But baseball's our thing in DR, right? That's all we do. So I've always gravitated towards baseball. And my cousin, which Jose,
Yep.
Jose Nicolas,
Yep.
he was already kind of a big deal in the baseball world. He was, in high school, making some noise. And, by the time he got drafted and so on, I was really into baseball. And I think he has a lot to do with that. Again, my dad played, my uncle played. I come from a baseball family. My dad's cousin played in the big leagues with the Brooklyn Dodgers.
What?
Yeah. So
wow. So baseball was it.
Baseball was it. Yes. So I would say baseball was definitely my first love, and I'm so grateful for that because I saw my cousin have success, and then made me think even bigger. Hey, hold on. If he can do it, then I can do it. And then his little brother also had tremendous success in the same thing. And I saw Caesar go from a mediocre player to a really good player by putting in some really hard work. So that okay, I may not be good right now, but if I work at it, I can be a lot better. So all of that kind of sinked in early on.
Oh, man.
And I'll tell you a quick story, actually.
Go ahead.
Because when I was I can't even remember, maybe fourth or fifth grade, at PE, we started, doing track and field.
Yeah.
And I was born with flat foot, and I had an issue with my knee. I was very bow-legged to the point that I had to have those knee braces, like Forrest Gump. Yes, run. I have pictures of me with his damn braces, right? And I was, kids are mean, they're making fun of you, bullying you, and I was like, oh, whatever. So now I don't know how old I am, but I try out the running thing, and one of the coaches goes, you can really run. And my mom was like, really? I don't know about this. So I said, no, you can really run. You should have him come to practice. And seeing my improvement from not being such a good runner to putting in the work and becoming better and better, again, it gave me confidence, and I understood the benefits of putting in the work, right? And then as I'm growing up and I'm really getting into baseball, maybe by this time I'm like, 8, 9, 10, let's say. I tell my uncle, who is Jose and Caesar's dad, rest in peace. I said, I really want to play. And he goes, well, if you really want to play, here's what you have to do. And he told me, you have to do 100 dry swings so you can, get your forearms and everything strong. And to play baseball, you have to be fast. So he told me you have to do 10 to 12 sprints every single day, 60 yards. And no joke, I would do that every single day. Rain or shine, there was a park close to me. He taught me how to warm up, and I would just run like a maniac. And you see me running in this park, no specific form. And then I think that the universe always puts things in front of you when you really want something. And a random guy jogging sees me and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm telling him, no, I'm doing sprints. I'm trying to get faster. The guy happened to be like a professional sprinter. And he goes, well, let me help you out. The guy gives me a few tips and then follows up with me. And to the point that I'm training with this guy like 3 times a week. And I'm getting free training because he saw this little kid running, no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
And he was like, you know what? I got to help this kid. So, now to tell you the full story, I was not really a good baseball player. I was a good athlete. And I was the fastest one pretty much in every team that I play with. And it's because of the hard work that I put in from the beginning.
Man, I try to tell people that all the time. And obviously I think I have a harder time because I'm 6'4", 220 pounds. But I tell people, I was like, hey, I was never the best, but I did work the hardest. And if you put in that type of work and learn that work ethic at a young age, man, it's like a compound interest, man. Like you just put in the work little by little. Yeah. Sure enough, it doesn't happen overnight, but it happens, man. What would you see your cousin do that you were like, man, I need to do this. So now, as you started getting older, how did he train for baseball that you were like, oh, I'm gonna use that?
So first, I'll talk about Jose,
Okay, there you go.
who was a second rounder
Mm-hmm.
from Westminster.
Yep.
This guy was a freak of nature in high school. And my uncle told me that he was doing the 10 to 12 sprints every single day.
Wow.
So he got that formula from him
Mm-hmm.
and passed it down to me. And Caesar at the time, he was kind of lazy. He didn't want to work out. He just wanted to go hit.
You heard that, Caesar?
Yeah, he's gonna give me some shit about this. But Jose was I actually, what I learned from him, it wasn't really the workouts, it was how focused he was at a young age on what he was trying to do, and he took it very serious. And my uncle was also, I think, a great mentor and
Mm-hmm.
and was a good good influence. Caesar, about his junior year, they used to always go to DR and visit us.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to say, yeah, it was his sophomore summer going into his junior year. He went to DR, and that's actually a cool story because he started training over there out of nowhere. His dad was always like, "Oh, you got to do this, you got to do that," and he was like, whatever, I don't really care. And he came to realize that he wanted to do it, and out of nowhere, he became a freaking beast. So he would train over there in Dominican Republic, and we would train every single day, from ground balls to working out to hitting to going to the El Centro Olímpico and going up the steps.
The Rocky, you're doing the Rocky,
right? Literally. And after that's when the kind of the it switched with Caesar. After that he just didn't stop from there, and he was a fifth rounder out of Vanderbilt.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
Do you think people can learn work ethic, or can you put it on somebody and say, hey, you got to work hard, or does a switch need a flip? Like, do you think there's either or? Do you think it's from the people that are around you, or does it just need to be internal, something that you feel?
That's a great question. I'm not a scientist, but I will say that I think everyone has that in them.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to kind of find your passion. You have to be passionate about something in order to go and go hard without questioning it. I think people don't like to work hard because they're in their mind they're saying, if I work really hard at this and then I fail, it's going to crush me. Or, I'm putting all this time and effort into something that it may not work out. It's risky, right? Where I see it, I'm going to put all of my energy into this, because if I fail at this, at least I know now what it is to be a specialist at something, or it's gonna help you in the next venture. It's gonna help
Mm-hmm.
you in your next thing that you want to do. So whatever I do, I have to try to be the best I can be at.
So it's almost like blind faith in a way, like blind faith. Like, you don't forget about the result. Just like worry about the goal, like the goal at hand every single day, or the process.
100%. Focus, fall in love. I always say, fall in love with the process, and success is inevitable. It's going to come. Again, my passion, and I was crazy about making it to the big leagues and playing at the highest level. Guess what? I didn't make it, but I learned so much from that process. Literally, it's taught me everything that I know now, and I still use it in my business. So was it a waste of time? I don't think so. I don't know where would I be if I didn't go through that process. I grew up in a very dysfunctional family.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of lost my mentor, which was my uncle, early on. So, if it wasn't because of baseball and seeing other families and having coaches and just being around the game, also, my mind really expanded. I'm thinking, I'm going to play in the big leagues and I'm going to make some pretty good money and I'm going to support my family. When the big league situation was gone, I was crushed, but I'm thinking, hold on, I'm more than just a baseball player. So that big thinking mindset was still there. If it wasn't because of baseball, I don't know.
Yeah,
I wasn't around doctors and attorneys, and
I always think about that because I always surrounded myself with other guys that had made it. Right, I always saw them just like you had your cousins, I had other guys that I was like, oh man, this is possible, right? So I always had the idea of the big leagues or nothing, right? Like
Right.
that. I always knew that, but I don't think kids have that. I don't think kids nowadays, if they don't play a sport, do you think there's like, what should kids do if they don't have exactly that? Like, how can they have that bigger mindset?
Man, that's tough to say. And I have a daughter, and I'm thinking, for her, right? And the way I would say is like, go whatever it is you're doing, try to be the best you can at that, because
Yeah.
no matter what you're doing, it's going to help you for the next thing.
Yeah.
Like even if you failed, it's going to help you for the next thing.
Absolutely.
And it just creates that mindset of, I have to get better at something. You always want to continue to get better at something, I mean, I think we're kind of lucky that we found something early on that we really were passionate about. Some of these kids are trying to figure it out, but whatever it is, whether you're in school, you gravitate towards math, towards reading or whatever, like really try to be the best you can at that. And then something else will come up. And once that comes up, you already have the work ethic. Now you just have to do it.
Apply it.
Right. Apply it.
Oh man. All right. You hit something big, school. Talk to me about coming to the United States and say high school or when you got into school. Was it challenging? How was that adversity when, I mean, I'm sure you knew a little bit of English, but were you fluent?
No, it was probably the hardest thing I've done when in terms of, I was 12 coming over here, I dealt with, I have I'm a little dyslexic. So in Spanish already was tough. Math was easy for me because it's English, Spanish doesn't make a difference.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
As a matter of fact, when I moved here, I thought that I was a little bit ahead in math, but everything else was tough, man. And again, kids are making fun of you. You don't speak English. I was 12, but I looked like 16. So, you got, what's this kid, So it was tough, man. I had a rough time, but quickly through baseball, again, you make friends, you make friends with other kids that come from Venezuela, Cuba, or whatever that may be. And quickly I made friends and it was fine. My brothers, on the other hand, who didn't play baseball, they had a rough time.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, man. What did they do? How did they overcome that?
Well, I think eventually they'll make friends as well that, they're kind of in the same position. Usually that's what you gravitate towards. But, I was really busy with playing and practicing, so it was much easier.
Gotcha.
In my opinion.
Yeah, man, that's always tough. And it's funny you said you're dyslexic and I am too. And I'll never forget. Did you ever have to read in class? Like, did they ever ask you like, hey?
Brutal. I'm not good at it.
I used to read the paragraphs, so they would count. You know how you like waterfall reading, and I'd count the paragraphs, and I say, okay, well, this kid, okay, I'm number 6. Let me start reading the paragraph number 6 at a time.
That I did some of that too.
Did you really?
What about when you think you're reading number 6 and then you land on number 8? You're like, oh crap! Hey, hold on, I didn't practice that. Give me a second.
Hold on. Time out. Ask another question. Oh
yeah.
man.
No, it was tough for me, man.
Yeah.
And I was very hard on myself because I'm like, I didn't know that as an adult to figure out, that I had these issues. But as a kid, you're like, hold on. You start questioning everything. You're like, am I dumb? Like, what the heck? Other kids can do it and this and that. But then you realize, you know what? You're good in other areas, and being dyslexic doesn't mean that you're dumb. As a matter of fact, it could be that you're gifted,
Yeah, in a sense.
But you got to find that gift.
Yeah. My dad used to tell me one of the things, you had obviously a lot of family that helped you become better at working hard, right? And that was one of the things that my dad instilled in me. And he made me apply not only to baseball, but to school too. Like, hey, if you're not good at something, just work harder at it. And just keep pounding that door till you figure it out, right? Like it doesn't matter what excuse you have, what mentality you have, just do it more often and you'll get better at it. It's really, really just that simple. Can you talk to me a little bit about now actual baseball? Like, how was high school baseball for you? Because you grew up in Miami and I can imagine obviously we're a little bit different in age, but the game doesn't change. And the city that we were in, it was the same. So can you give me a little idea of how it was playing in Miami?
Man, I loved it. I loved every second of it. Here you play all year round.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm one of those kids that I loved baseball. Like my parents didn't make me play baseball, so I loved it. I can practice all day. I can play all day. Loved it. But some of my best friends are from baseball still. So, from middle school, man.
Wow.
Yeah, Nocelyn Labrada, Nick Silva. I mean, I can go all day. We're still close today. So I loved it, man. I have to tell you this, since you asked that question. When we first moved here, I didn't want to. Imagine I'm 12 years old. I have my friends over there. I have my team. You're like, why are we moving? I didn't want to move. So and you come here, they speak English. I don't speak English, and kids make fun of you. I'm like, I hate Miami.
Wow.
Yeah, it was kind of like that mentality. And then you start playing baseball, and it's fun, and you start traveling teams and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, hold on, no, I love Miami. I'm so happy that we moved here. But it was fun, man. High school was great. I went to Killeen High School. I had some phenomenal coaches. Manny Fernandez was the coach there. And then we made it to states twice.
Oof.
And we lost twice. But going to states was a great experience. We had a phenomenal team, a great group of guys, and we weren't like the best on paper, but we worked hard, and we came together as a team. So that also, I learned a lot going into college, like what it takes to win. At some point I felt like, early on it was all about our stats, and we all trying to get better and better individually. And then my junior year, I don't know, I think we're all kind of like same age, and we didn't really care about our stats. It was about winning. And we had this battle with Columbus guys and Southridge and Sunset. So it really meant a lot to us to beat them. And you forget about what you're hitting and if you made an error or whatever. It's about winning. And man, that was great. That was great.
It's a lot of fun, man. I try to tell the stories to guys that aren't from Miami, and like to have them understand how fun high school baseball is. It's like little pockets of and I know there's probably other places too, but like it's a party. Like this is what we do for a living. Like it's not, we don't go to school and play baseball. We're baseball players that have to go to class.
Right. Well, I also think playing sports, specifically baseball, because if it wasn't because of that, like I had also had this like hate relationship with school, but I had to get good grades to play baseball. So that motivated me to be better at school, right?
Wow.
So I think baseball for that. But yeah, when it comes to telling that story to other people, there's always a parent that is fun or is coaching the team, and they make it fun for us. I was able to, in high school, I was able to play with the Florida Bombers.
Oh.
And that was phenomenal. I felt like we were playing for a minor league team. You have your own bus, or jerseys, so I had our last name, and they were like big league uniforms.
Yeah, it was legit.
Those guys are great. And it was so much fun, man. You got exposed to everything here,
Quick. Do you think that helps, man? It's funny because growing up as a kid in Miami is not like growing up as a kid in, let's say, Tennessee, right? Like, do you think being exposed to so many things at such a young age helps you when you get older, right? Like, even when it comes to the Miami lifestyle, like you've known the Miami lifestyle since you were a kid. Do you think that helps kids maybe get away from it? Or does it hurt because you fall into it too young? What do you think?
No, so just to understand your question, are you saying if being exposed to all these things helps or hurts?
Well, obviously the travel and things, but I'm saying even more as a Miami kid, right? A high school kid that can go out to South Beach.
Right.
Like, do you think that's beneficial for a young kid here in Miami, or could it hurt as well?
I think it's both ways, because I've seen it in a way where, some kids grow up, we said Tennessee, so I'll just use Tennessee for now, where they're kind of sheltered, they haven't seen, outside of that,
Mm-hmm.
and now they're playing during college or playing minor league baseball in Miami or a city like Miami,
Yeah.
and they're like, wow, all the flashing lights, and they kind of get
Mm-hmm.
lost. But for us, it's like we've been here, like we've seen this since we were in 8th grade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all the flashing lights and the clubs and the drinking and the cars and all that. Like it's kind of normal to us.
It's normal.
Some people get lost in that,
Mhm.
you know, and those are the people that don't have, you know, I guess a good mentor or, you know, kind of get involved in the wrong crowd.
Yep.
I'm grateful that I was able to have good friends
Mhm.
from middle school to high school. We were all really into baseball, kind of stayed away from the whole, you know, drugs and drinking and partying, but it was always around us,
Of
you know?
course.
Like, and we did it, don't get me wrong, but we always knew that what we wanted to do was play baseball, you know?
I think you hit on it there, right? The fact that you're around it and it goes back to the alarm clock thing, that you get to make that decision.
Right.
And having that decision there to be made makes you stronger than not having it at all. Because the minute that you have it, then you're like, oh, well, yeah, sure, let me try it. Let me do that. Let me go out on a Friday night if I have a 9 a.m. game on Sunday or a Saturday. You know, those are the decisions that maybe we made a little earlier than others, which I think, like you said, could be very, very beneficial. Very beneficial.
Yeah, I think it helped me actually.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just kind of being around all this and seeing all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, by the time you have the resources to be able to party, you're kind of over it. You know, you've been there, done that.
Yeah, my mom used to tell me, she goes, when you turn 21, you're not going to want to do anything. Yeah. And I was like, you're not wrong, man. I turned 21 and I was like, the last thing I want to do is go to a club. I don't care.
Right.
Like I've seen it. My friends do it all the time. Like I'm okay. It's not that serious anymore.
Right.
Right. One of the other things that you kind of hit on was like the flashiness, the Miami lifestyle, all those things, the houses, even if you don't live in a beautiful neighborhood like this one per se, you still can drive by it. Like you can still go around it and see it. Do you think that also motivated you? Did you ever have any motivation, like because of like maybe I want to buy a big house one day, I want to have these nice cars? Was that ever a motive?
Totally, man, big time. I'll take it back, you know, even more. You know, just in Miami, you're around the guys that play in the big leagues, you know, and you get to see them and sometimes even practice with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of are like humanizing these people and saying, shit, I can do it too, right? Like, kind of size yourself up, you know, like, oh, hold on, like, well, I'm the same height, you know. Some of these guys are 6'4" like you, and I'm like, oh, different level. But anyhow, I think all of that helps. When it comes to the homes, I have a story.
Mm-hmm.
So where I live right now,
mm-hmm.
I was practicing with Preston Wilson. I hope he sees this. Ooh. And Preston Wilson lived right around the corner. I was in high school, and me and my buddy, so I don't know if you know Noriega. He's a hitting coach.
Okay, maybe I've seen him.
And Ray Noriega he's the best. And Marcus, we're helping now Preston Wilson get back into the big leagues. He was hurt, and we were practicing at Westminster. Mm-hmm. And, you know, we practiced technically that whole summer with him, helping him shag and just kind of being there with him. And so he invited us to his house for a barbecue at the end before he left to play. And I remember driving in and saying, man, you know, this is nice. Like, eventually I would like to, you know, live here. And I don't know how many years later, I'm living here, man. So you said that, I'm like, hold on, I have this. I've never told that story before.
Look at that, man. Yeah. No, it's funny the way that little kind of flashes can really stick a long way and like motivate you, man. Like right. it really is motivating to see these things on a daily basis, man. Like we were spoiled to be here. That's the way I think about it. It's like I used to drive from Hialeah to Coral Gables every morning. How the heck can I not be motivated when I'm at 5 a.m. I'm, like you said, early to go work out and run it, and I'm driving through Coral Gables, mansions. The Mercedes are flying by me. The Ferraris are flying by me. Like, how can I not be? I want more, man.
Right.
I want to go drive. Do you have like this addiction that you have to like stop it sometimes? We made a clip the other day talking about wanting more. Do you have to like step back ever? Because I'm sure working hard now is not a problem for you, but maybe like taking a step back. Is that hard now for you a little bit sometimes?
Definitely. It's something that I work on every single day, honestly, because, I love spending time with my family, and I have a 6-year-old daughter. I have 2 stepdaughters that I love spending time with them. And, in my business, I can work at any time from my phone. People are asking me questions. I'm interacting with sellers, with buyers. So sometimes it's tough to turn off. And, I love what I do. So yeah, sometimes now I'm being a lot more intentional about, okay, from this time to that time, I'm going to make these phone calls. This time to this time, I'm going to read the emails. In the morning, I always study the market, what's going on. And then, this time is family time, leave my phone in the room or somewhere. So I don't work all the time.
This sounds like a conversation.
Yeah, I mean,
that sounds like the conversations me and my fiance have on a weekly basis. All right, come on, like, because she's a workaholic too. It's like, all right, we got to prioritize the time that we have with each other. We don't even have kids yet. We're like still trying to like proactively be like, all right, hey, we got it. Like, let's take the dog to the dog park at this time every week, same time, because it's.
Well, yes, good practice with the dog, It's kind of like having
kind of the same, right? Yeah, I'm sure.
Not quite. But
I know.
It's good practice. It's good practice.
No, man, it's so cool to talk to other people that have that insanity. We're crazy.
Yeah,
like,
I read this post. This thing going on social media, and this guy says, winners work hard, and they ask. It's losers. They're always saying, why do we have to work so hard or something like that? And then winners work extremely hard, and they're always doubting themselves. Did I work hard enough? And that's what happens to me. Like, am I really giving it my all? Like, is this the best I can do? And the outside people are like, man, you're always working. I'm like, am I? Like, can I do better? I always think I can do better. And that's something that I got, again, from playing sports. Yeah. You go 4 for 4 today with 2 home runs or whatever, and then I'm always questioning, okay, what can I do better? Let's analyze the entire day. Whether you go 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts or 4 home runs, it's like, okay, how can I be better tomorrow?
Oh man, it's so hard. I have the same problem. I'm like, I don't think I did enough. I could have done this maybe. If I would have changed this meeting and then had it, if they wouldn't have been back to back, then I could have prepared better for the next one. Right. And it's like, man, and I didn't just put the extra bit of effort to just move that meeting 5-10 minutes after that. It's crazy, man. It drives me insane on a daily basis. And we talk, it's like, I try to tell even Ricky, I'm like, all right, maybe I won't call Ricky on a Sunday. Like, we talk about working for the week, but it's like, well, we got to prep for the week. Right. It's like, I'm going to work out Monday morning. Maybe I don't have time. I have other meetings. Let's call them on a Sunday. Sure enough, you're working for 2-3 hours on Sunday at whatever time that you weren't supposed to be, So it's being intentional.
You know what, man? If we can do it now while we're young and have this energy, I think now's the time to do it, right?
That's the sick people. That's what we say. That's the excuse we give each other right there. That's what we say, exactly.
Yeah, listen, I didn't go to an Ivy school or any of that. So my edge is by working harder than you, and that's what I know. And it's worked well for me. Maybe I'll learn a different way later, but right now it's outworking you.
I love that. Talk to me. All right, now, we talked about the culture shock when you moved to Miami, right? And that you didn't like it. Talk to me about moving, because Dominican Republic to Miami, it's different. Yeah. But I think maybe a bigger difference was moving to Tennessee. Like, how was that for you?
Oh man, that was actually, in the beginning, I was like, I don't know about Tennessee. And I went to when I went to visit the school, I got the call.
Well, how did that come about? I'm sorry, I didn't even ask you that. How did it come about that you were going to Tennessee at all?
So I got drafted out of high school. I had committed to University of Tennessee, and so I had committed to University of Tennessee, but I got drafted out of high school. So I want to go pro. I had already an ACL injury in high school, so didn't get drafted as high as I wanted to or whatever, and now at the time it was the last year of draft and follow. I don't know if you.
Oh yes, draft and follow. I remember that.
05 was it last year, so that means if you go to a community college, that team still holds you technically. and you can go into the draft again next year, but that team can make you an offer before you go into the draft. So my plan, okay, I'm going to go to Miami-Dade, play there, kill it. I'm having a pretty good year. I pulled my hamstring, ended up not playing the rest. So now, my they don't technically offer me the same. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go to school. So I get recruited by this school, Fried-Harmon University.
Wow.
And they have a guy that was killing it over there. He's Dominican. So there was that connection.
Oh,
right?
There you go.
And anyhow, so now before I go there, I said, I'm not going to go. That guy was graduating. So I said, let me recruit some friends. So I called my friend Noslin Labrada. I said, hey, man, what are you doing? He was playing JUCO college in Ohio or something. And he's like, I need to get out of here. It's too cold for me. So I said, hey, send me your stats. I sent it to the coach. And the coach goes, we have a scholarship for him. I see his stats. We like him. We want him. And so I'm like, okay, great. So Nos goes, then I'm going. And then the coach, Nos calls him back and says, hey, man, thank you for trying. But, the team, they don't have enough scholarship for me. I can't go. I can't afford it. So then I call the coach and I say, you know what, coach, thank you. It's not going to work. And he goes, no, but what happened? It's not. We're giving you a full ride. And I said, I really want to go play with my buddy. Kind of like kind of negotiating with the coach right there. And he said, oh, we can't. A week later, he comes back, hey, somebody just opened up. Tell your buddy, full ride. So Nas and I go over there and we're committed. In the fall, we kill it. And the coach is like, okay, I want more of you.
Yeah.
So we only had enough time to recruit one pitcher, which ended up being Javi Gomez, ended up being the ace that year. Almost like, I think I want to say pitcher of the year. I don't want to exaggerate.
Nah, pitcher of the year. I like it.
So then that summer, I'm not even kidding, we recruited 11 players from Miami. Technically our entire lineup was Miami kids. And we had so much fun over there in Tennessee. So going to Tennessee was a lot of fun because the town that we were playing, it was a baseball town, and it was kind of all about baseball. You get to grow so much, man. You leave this bubble in Miami and different culture, different people. You deal with some racism, but you also learn from that too.
Yeah.
So it was overall, it was a great experience, man. I loved it. I wouldn't change it for the world. We had a phenomenal coach that loved us and cared so much for us. Yeah, Coach McCarthy. Shout out to Coach McCarthy. And yeah, it was awesome, and we had a great time.
That's so cool. So many kids really do need to kind of see the world because we have access to so much here, but we also don't understand maybe from somebody else's perspective. Do you think putting yourself in other people's shoes sometimes and seeing that helped you when you came back to Miami and you're like, oh, wow, I have kind of a different point of view?
Definitely. 100%.
Taking me back to Tennessee, so you guys are obviously doing really well, having a blast. Like,
oh yeah.
Like how I forgot what the last question I asked you was. What was it that you were about to answer? Whatever.
Whatever. It'll come back.
So now, after Tennessee, right? Talk to me about getting into baseball, getting into professional baseball, and actually seeing what that world looks like.
Yeah. So now, going back to high school, one of the most athletic kids, and then you go into college, you're like just one of them. And then now you're playing minor league baseball, and these guys are all freaks, right? Like everyone's good, everyone's athletic, everyone can run, everyone can throw. So it's tough, man. I had a tough time. I realized that I needed more experience. Even though I had played through high school and college, it's a whole different level. But again, just the mission of overcoming something, I love it, man. And the more challenging it is, the more I love it. And so it was a great experience, man. I wish I would have played more, but it was so much fun, man. So much fun. At some point, you're playing, and then I'm playing some independent baseball. and I'm playing now in this team in Mexico, Los Cimarrones de Tijuana.
Wow.
I know. And I just see these guys that, are kind of older and in their 40s, and they're playing minor league baseball. And, some of these guys are in the kind of my age now, in their 30s, mid 30s, and they're trying to get back into, affiliated baseball to make it to the big leagues. And I'm thinking, man, I had this moment where I'm like, I'm more than just a baseball player. I can help people in other areas. And after that, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own thing. I'm going to do the whole fitness thing.
So the whole fitness thing, obviously, when you put baseball to the side, I did some research, obviously, and I saw that you had like this kind of coming to terms with, dang, man, like I'm sitting in New York, you're sitting with your brother. Were you doing with your brother?
Yeah. So, I skipped that. So I went to New York because this independent team wanted me, and I didn't pass the physical.
Oh, boy.
So, yeah. So they found out I had a labrum tear, one of those like, oh, does your arm hurt? And I'm like, no, it's fine. I was taking like, I don't know how many
who knows?
grams of painkillers. And they realized that, I have a labrum tear, and, they're not going to sign me. So now I'm depressed in my brother's couch. And my brother says, why don't you stay here for a few months until you figure it out? And after like 2 weeks, I'm like, okay, I need to do something. He's like, why don't you, I was personal training in the off season. I went to school for exercise science.
Oh.
So, get your certification, start working with me at Equinox until you kind of get your stuff together. 2 months turned into 2 years. So that time with my brother was awesome, dude. It was the first time I feel that I became a man in New York because it's the first time that I was done with baseball. I don't have a coach or an agent kind of babying me. I was not by myself because my brother was there, but in a way by myself, where I had to like now simple stuff like pay for my own insurance and, be responsible with things. And New York is fast paced, man.
Quick.
It's quick. So became a man in New York. My brother, it was the first time that I got into like this self-help books. My brother would see me all depressed and down, and he gave me this book. It's called In the Pursuit of Excellence. And that book talks a lot about, athletes kind of going through some stuff, injuries, Olympians, injuries, think they were never going to compete again, or leaving sports and doing something else in life. And that book technically freaking changed my life, man.
Really?
Yeah. It asked a question, and I'm going to say it's simple, but the way it kind of, starts is like, what is it that really makes you happy? But it wasn't like, oh, like walking in the park, your family, playing baseball. It was deeper than that. And it took me about 3 days to really think about. And again, the way they put it together, at the end of the day, the answer was like, I really love helping people. Like, I don't know what that means, but I get a lot of I guess I love helping others. And at that point I was like, okay, so how can I help others? Because I also want to live a nice life, and I like the nice things.
Yeah.
So how can I make money, a living, helping people? And at that time, the easiest thing that came to mind, which I loved, was fitness. So like this, I was like, okay, that's it. I'm going to become like the best personal trainer. I'm going to freaking study nutrition, study everything when it comes to exercise science, and I'm going to help people through fitness.
Wow.
And thank God my brother, Nicolas, was huge, man. The time where I needed him the most, he helped me out a lot because I was really down, man. I didn't even know what to do with myself. So took on fitness, quickly became one of the top trainers at Equinox in New York. And I said, I really like this. Well, that's the time after a year, I decided to play baseball again. That's what I played in Mexico.
Oh,
so I had that moment.
Oh, wow. So I was in the middle.
Yes. Yeah. So now I'm physically doing all this rehab. I'm studying everything about my shoulder. And I'm like, you know what? I think I can play. And I made a phone call, went to this tryout, got picked up, and I was so happy because Mexico is a big,
Yeah.
you know, so
Absolutely.
it's a very important league and actually pay more than
Way
most
more.
minor
Yeah,
league teams.
that's nice.
So I was so happy, and after that season, I was like, that's it, I'm done. Like, you know, I want to do something else with life, and decided to move to Miami and start a fitness company.
So I want to go to Equinox for a second, because from what I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, personal training is great and you learn a lot, and a lot of it is involved with obviously understanding the body, but there's a sales aspect to it as well, and a business aspect to actually getting the clients to buy a program, to do all those things. Did you have to do that yourself as well? Were you negotiating these contracts? Not negotiating in a sense. I'm negotiating now. You negotiate now more than ever, but what did you learn then?
Oh boy, so much. I'm glad you brought that up because it's not that I forget. I just, you know, don't talk about it much. But I still use lots of those tactics that I used in personal training, meaning to sell personal training, that I use now in real estate. And I again, I had great mentors. I'm so lucky, man. I had great mentors when I joined Equinox. My brother, the main one, Nicolas. Then I had Herman. I had Alex. I mean, I had amazing trainers. And so it's called fitness evaluation, right? You would do a fitness evaluation, and you have an hour with that person, and you sell personal training. And out of 10 fitness evaluation, I was signing up about 3 people, 300, right? I'm like, I'm winning. That's not bad, right? And then I took this class that it was about. It's called the DISC assessment, where it talks about different personalities. You know, and there's 4. Yeah. The D, which is the driver, the I, which is the influencer, in the animal world, they call it, like, the D is the eagle, the I is the parrot, likes to talk a lot, you know, very friendly. You and I are eyes, I can tell. Then there's the S, which is the dove, you know, kind of like by themselves, don't trust people right away, takes a lot of time to make decisions. And then the C, which is the owl, very analytical. You know, they also don't trust right away. It's all about the numbers and the stats and so on. And I was treating everyone as an I, like how I am.
Yep.
You know, very friendly. So the D's don't like us because they're like, I don't want to chit chat. Just get to the point.
Yep.
The S, I'm too friendly and too talkative to them too. And the C, they want to talk about stats. They're not going to talk about, you know, other stuff. So once I learned how to treat people, or technically mirror their personality, I'm not changing who I am. I'm just, you know, mirroring their personality. It switched for me. I went from out of 10 closing 3, out of 10 closing 8.
Wow.
Which in baseball is impossible to hit 800. I was hitting 800, and then to the point that the manager came up to me, he's like, "What are you doing this different?" And I said, "Well, you know, I did this class, the DISC assessment, and instead of talking about me and what I can do and all these things, I started just putting it all on them. So it's all asking questions like, you know, what are your fitness goals, right? Oh, I want to lose this. I want to lose 20 pounds. But it's not just ends there. Like, why do you want to lose 20 pounds? Oh, because I have a wedding coming up. Oh, when is that wedding? In 6 months from now. Okay, when was the last time that you were at the weight that you want to be at? How long have you been trying to do that? And it's all these things that opens that person up to tell you the truth. And then when you drop, hey, it's going to cost you $5,000 to buy 48 sessions or whatever that may be. And they say, oh, that's expensive. Then you go back to like, yeah, I understand it's expensive, you know, but do you think this will be a good investment? I mean, you said that you wanted, this is from a level one of the questions, from a level to, from, you know, 0 to 10, 0, not that important, 10, super important. Everyone would say 8 to a 9 or 8 to a 10. So I would always say back then, do you think this is a good investment? I mean, you said that this is very important to you. On a level from 1 to 10 is a 9, and you've been trying to do this for the last 6 years. Do you think that I can help you achieve that goal? And after the presentation, people are like, yeah. So, you know, so kind of put it back on them.
So selling themselves, they were selling themselves in a way.
Because I've learned through that process that people don't like to be sold. People like to buy,
Absolutely.
right? And people don't trust what you say, but they trust 100% of what they say. So you got to put it back on them to make them realize that they need this. I wasn't selling them something they didn't want. I'm selling them something that they want. It's just that they're going to talk themselves out of it, like, oh, personal training. And at the time, don't get me wrong, personal training has evolved. At the time, personal training was known as you're counting reps for me.
Oh.
Now it's like there's just all the science behind it, it's and that was the beginning of it. So it was tougher to sell $100 to $150 a session. And I learned so much from that process that I still use now in the real estate world.
That's,
as a matter of fact, when I started in the real estate business, I went to take the class just to be a referral agent. I wasn't thinking of becoming a real estate agent, like not a realtor. Not even a word that I even liked saying. But when I took the class, I was lucky that it was a good teacher, and he was talking about more than was just in the book. He was talking about the process of what it takes, and I'm saying, oh, you know what? If I learn the market and I do the same thing that I'm doing in the fitness world, in the real estate world, I can see how I can help lots of people. And he just clicked, boom, and decided to do it.
Look at that, man. It's crazy to see the connection, right? Because you've gone from not only the connection from moving places, but the whole baseball thing and being able to use that when you went into fitness and fitness into real estate. It just continues to all go hand in hand, man. Hand in hand.
Yeah.
That's really, really cool, man. And one of the things that I really wanted to know about too is when you were starting your business, when you were starting your, not real estate, but when you were starting your fitness gym, right? The fitness gym that you started here in Miami when you moved back, like what were some of the challenges that you faced and what did you know before that about starting a business per se?
Man, that's a great question. The quick answer is nothing. I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything of business other than, seeing other people do it. But the actual details of it, I didn't know. I just know that I wanted to do it and I was going to figure it out. And again, I consider myself like the luckiest person in the world, man, because it's the help was always around me. And going back to personal training, I thanked baseball earlier. I want to thank personal training because I learned so much. I was lucky enough to train some really smart people, really successful people that you get that hour with them where I'm like, teaching them, but really I'm learning so much from them as well. So I was training this attorney. We became really close. And I had asked her, I said, I want to start my own business, personal training business. And I didn't even know what's the first step. So she helped people do that. Lucky, right? Like how lucky I am. I have someone that I train that I spend 1 hour almost every day. And she said, well, first you have to start an LLC. And I said, okay, how do you do that? And then you have to start a bank account, this and that. So literally I said, you have time this Saturday after the personal training session? We can go have lunch? Sure. And she was so helpful. She helped me do it. She, helped me do all these things. And then, asking someone else about, hey, it's my ideas. Here's what I want to do. And now talking to people that are more in the business side of it, I said, oh, no, that's not a good idea. You got to do this. You got to worry about that. The overhead, the rent and this, front desk, cleaning lady, everything.
Yep.
I mean, everything that I didn't even know. I was like, oh, I'm going to start a business. That's all I wanted to do. And they taught me so much. It was like freaking going to school, really.
Wow.
And then I just took action, man. I'm like that. Maybe it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure, but I'll take action and I figure it out as I go. And that's what I did. And I learned so much. Quality fitness, became something big. We started with offering in-home training.
Low overhead. In-home training.
Yes.
Low overhead.
Well, that was, so I'm not going to say his name because, but he's the one that told me, he's like, why didn't you just do that? And I was like, you're a genius. Like, I'm already doing it. I was training him at his home. And he said, as a matter of fact, I know someone that the manager at Coco Plum. I'm going to put you in contact. In Coco Plum, there's this, this fitness facility, and I started teaching class there for free, offering fitness valuations. And within like a month, I was booked. I couldn't take, and that's when I started bringing other personal trainers with me and said, hey, kind of giving them clients and referring them out, and the business took off to the point of like, okay, the next step is either I become a fitness celebrity, like the P90X guy, which it wasn't really what I wanted to do. I kind of tried it, and I was like, it's not me, or I open up a gym. And in the process of opening a gym, I couldn't find anything that was in this location. It had to be Coral Gables, Coconut Grove. I did learn that for personal training, it has to be easy for the client. They'll go and drive an hour for you, but it's not going to last. So I couldn't find anything. And in that whole process, that's when the real estate business came in.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
So you wanted to still, and I'm guessing, right? It started in Equinox, but you were dealing with high value clients as well. You weren't dealing with, LA Fitness. You were at Equinox, so you were high value. And then when you came here, you ended up in Coco Plum. You weren't going to, I could say it because I'm from there, Hialeah to train people. You were going to the cream of the crop. Do you think that motivated you to get now, when you got into real estate, to exactly where you are now? Like, you're not selling. I mean, maybe you are. I'm sorry. I'm assuming, but you're selling the biggest and best houses on the market.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. No, yes. Again, luckiest man in the world, man. I when I went into the fitness world, I went to the highest, which I don't know what the highest is right now, but at the time, Equinox was at a whole different level.
Wow.
Which they had technically a little university to coach you on how to do these things, where they opened up different classes like the one that I took, the DISC assessment, and learned so much. So when I came here, Equinox was just starting. There was one in Merrick Park, and people, again, weren't used to the personal training at that level. And I was so lucky that I started training people, again, at the highest level, right?
Yeah.
And the same thing, when I started real estate, the people that were helping me find a location for my gym became my mentor. Irvin Padron, which I always give him credit and will forever give him credit, because I learned so much from him. He's one of the guys that planted that seed in my head for real estate. So we're now in the office, after hours, crunching the numbers for this gym. And he comes in and he says, hey, we just got a new listing in Gables Estates. Who do you know is looking to move into the area? I said, oh, but one of my personal training clients actually is looking to move in Gables Estates. I put him in contact. 3 months later, they closed the deal. And at the time, it was like, $8.3 million. It was a big deal.
Wow, man.
And he says, he gave me some like heat tickets or something like that. But he goes,
he gave you heat tickets for that referral?
Yeah. But hold on, because it's illegal to.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
But he tells me, hey, you should get your license because I can give you a referral fee for this, and you have amazing contacts. You should get paid for this.
Yeah.
So I said, sure. Like, tell me what I need to do. Like, go here, and I literally, like, again, took action. Like the next day, I'm signing up. I'm going. I was doing the morning class. So I've moved all my clients to a later time, or I would train maybe 2 clients at 6 a.m., 7. The class would start from 9 to 12. I'm not sure. And then after that, back to personal training. And after a week, I go take the test, pass the test. And again, I told you that earlier that I had that, like, maybe I can do this. And I couldn't find the gym, and my daughter was born. And I was like, I want to do more. How can I do more? And decided, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to become a real estate agent. At the time, I always wanted to invest in multifamily. So I said, I'm going to become a real estate agent in the commercial world. And I go to Urban and I said, Urban, I think I want to do this. And he goes, what do you mean? What happened to the gym? I said, you know what, the gym, we can't find the location. And I also realized that I'm going to be in an office crunching numbers, managing personal trainers, which is not what I liked. I like the interaction with people, and I'm not going to do that. So it's not what I'm passionate about. And I realized that as an owner, as a gym owner, that was going to be my life. And I think I can do this. So he's like, really? Are you sure? He kind of like almost like was talking me out of it, which it was good because it helped me understand a lot about the business and how hard it is. I didn't go into it thinking that I was, oh yeah, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
For a second, I was like, I have great contacts. I'm gonna go and say, hey, I have this and that,
Buy it,
and they were gonna buy it right away. Well, a little bit of me thought that, and in the commercial world, it was totally different. I'm glad that I got that structure from the commercial world because it's very analytical. There's no emotions. It's either it works or it doesn't work, and it's all crunching numbers, and you have to be creative with crunching these numbers. And anyhow, I started 6 months, didn't do well. By mistake, got a listing in the residential world. And then I realized that I love the emotion of the residential sale because it's a lot of personal training. And I like it because I like to get deep and personal and understand what is your lifestyle? Why do you want to move here? Why is that important to you? You know, do you like walking to places? Where do you work? What do you, all these things, right? And help them kind of, figure that out together.
You talked about like different personas when you were learning about, the people that you're selling to, and when you got to 8 out of 10, you deal with different types of personas when you're dealing with these larger scale houses. And everybody that buys a house, it's emotional, right? But you're dealing with CEOs, you're dealing with top line doctors, lawyers at that level, what you're selling, I'm guessing, right?
Yeah.
So how do you get those people that might be very shut out in a sense? Do you use those same tactics to get into them and get intimate with them? Because again, you have to get to the emotion, right? What do you do when you're dealing with somebody like that?
Man, the skills of asking questions. The skills of asking questions, because no one really cares what you know and how good you are and none of that stuff. It's really asking questions to understand. You can't help someone if you don't really understand what they're looking for and what is their pain. I like to believe that, and I went through, by the way, I forgot to mention that I hired a coach. I still have a coach. I've been through like 4 different coaches. Now I'm really with Sandler Training. It's a sales university, if you will. And the skills of asking questions is everything to me, because that's when you understand. They believe that everyone buys a pain, and they like to use this analogy of if your tooth is hurting and it's really, really, really painful, you go to the dentist and you're like, take this out. And, but you know how much it is? You don't care how much it is. Just take it out right now. So then you deal with what the cost is of that. It's kind of the same thing in everything else, right? Like if you get to someone's pain, like they don't care about the comparables or not. Like, I want this house. It's for me, it's for my family. It's tough to get there. Not everyone has the same pain, but it takes skill to get there, right? To ask questions and then dig deeper, like, why do you want to move? Well, I want to move closer to the school. Oh, but how come? Oh, because the commute. Oh, but, how far does it take you? Oh, 45 minutes. Oh, man, so what do you do with 45 minutes? And you dig deep into that pain. Yeah. So how much time are you losing a day? Oh, I'm losing about 3 hours a day because of the pain. And how does that make you feel? Oh, and then, you dig deeper and deeper and deeper. So when it's time to make that offer, you say, remember the commute, remember this, you kind of bring it all in again so they can make a decision. People are like, oh, you're good at persuading people. I don't persuade anything. I don't try to sell anything that people don't want to buy. They want to buy this. I just need to help them make a decision and understand that this is a good decision for them.
Man, thanks for the free lesson, man. This is awesome.
Whatever you want, bro.
I'm going to steal that. I'm stealing that. Clip it. Man, for me, send it to me. No, because I don't know if you ever went through this, but when I started selling, I thought because I was personable and I could talk to anybody, I thought I was going to sell instantly, right away.
Which helps, but it's not everything.
Yeah. It gets you to be able to have these conversations, get over the fear of, negotiating, things of that nature. But one of the things that I learned was, right, when I got into sales, like discovery call, first thing, ask questions, right? But when I would ask my first question and they'd give me an answer that I liked, I'd instantly go into, oh yeah, so look what I can do for you. Da, 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 da. And you talked about digging deeper. And I think there is where the difference lies. It's like, yes, you can ask a question, but it's the why do you feel that way?
Right. It's so important. By the way, that happened to me too.
Really?
And again, thanks to my mentor and a bunch of coaches that I've been through. I would show up to the office and I would tell Irvin, man, I got this buyer. He, wants to buy a $10 million home. And, oh yeah, how is he going to pay? Cash? Or I don't know. How soon does he want us to move? I don't know. Does he have to sell to buy? I don't know. So I just got happy that someone wants to buy a home, and that's it. Okay, great. They call it getting happy feet, right?
Yep.
So you got to sometimes calm down, okay, and dig deeper into why and this and that, because it's and usually, what they say, buyers are sellers, right? And what is it? No, buyers are liars, and sellers are liars too. They're all liars too, right? But the reason why is because they don't trust you right away, right? It's not that they're lying; it's that they're holding back with telling you what's really going on because they think that you're going to use that against them, or so for the most part, you're just meeting these people, so it takes a skill of asking questions for them to open up. And really, now that's when we can really be an advisor and we can really advise. But most people try to advise without really understanding what's going on with that client, what is really important to them. Some clients, you understand what they want, but what they want and what they need is totally different things too, right? So digging deeper to really understand what is it that they need. Sometimes, believe it or not, I tell the client after the evaluation, it's not the right time for you to sell. And some people may think that I'm crazy because I'm a salesperson. I'm always selling. But if I think that, I don't never tell them, but I'll say, okay, look, so you want to sell, to move this, to move that. And whatever the situation is, it may not be the right time for them because of the equity that they're going to have once they sell. It's not enough to buy the other house, whatever that may be. So anyhow, it's all about the client. It's never about me, and digging deeper to understand, what is it that they really want is super important. And another way is to, again, mirror them. People feel comfortable. They drop that wall. You start with simple questions, then you get into the deeper questions. By that time, they feel like they've known you for a while, and that's when the magic happens.
Yeah, it's funny because you brought something up that I absolutely love. And again, I'm gonna steal this. Dude, I'm so lucky. Like this you say you're lucky, and this is why I feel so lucky because I get to listen to things like this. But you're an advisor, you're not selling. You're not a salesman. You're not, salesman lie or whatever. Yeah. But you're an actual advisor. You're standing next to your client, not in front.
100%. I'm a facilitator. I help them make decisions.
That's it.
Again, I don't have anything against the word realtor, but I don't really like the word realtor. I feel like anyone can be a realtor in a week. You can go get your license and now you're a realtor.
Done.
I don't consider myself a realtor. I consider myself a real estate advisor. And to be able to advise, you have to really understand what that person is looking for, their pain.
Okay, I know we've been on a long time. Do I have a second for one more?
Oh yeah, man. No, yeah.
I'm sorry,
man. For you guys, we have time. My phone is going off.
Mine too. We've been an hour and a half, man. I'm sorry. I told you, man. I'm sorry. I swear this is the last thing.
It feels like 6 minutes.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I know. I'm annoying. I haven't even looked at anything. I haven't even looked what I was going to ask.
When we started, I didn't even know that we had already started. We're like, hold on, we're rolling right now. Let's go.
So, man, you are obviously a very talented, successful individual, right?
Man, thank you.
But one of the things that I think you are so good at, not only selling, obviously, even though you're not a salesman, right? But
no, don't get me wrong. I sell. And I'm a salesperson.
Yeah,
I just have a different strategy.
Exactly.
I think that selling for me is helping others.
Of course.
Instead of like what other people think.
Yeah. But one of the things I think you are so amazing at, looking from the outside in, is marketing.
All right, man.
You
Thank
are,
you for that feedback.
yeah, man. Like I've been following you for quite some time. Ever since Mike Anthony said, "Hey, you got to go meet Angel, this and this and that," and I'm like, man, you are so good and so on top of those things. Like, where did you learn that? Was this on purpose? Did you really want to dive into marketing? You have like 4 different Instagram pages. Like, I'm assuming maybe you have somebody that's helping you now at this point, but
Yeah.
where did that start and where did you see that really take off for you? Because you have a huge following as well.
Man, I have to say, I think I get a little bit of a marketing, um, I guess, skills from my uncle and my dad. But people think that I'm really like this social media guy, and I actually fought it for a long time. Like I didn't like social media, but then I understood that through fitness, that is really important to connect with people personally and put your some of your personal stuff too, and see some of the success from other people. So I learned a lot from fitness, and not I never like the kind of show, like too showy. That's a word, but too flashy with it. I like the marketing that's a little bit more discreet. So I learned it from fitness. That's when I started, and I knew what worked and what didn't work, and I understand who I'm marketing to, right? It's very important to know who is your demographic that you're trying to target. So I just get that, and now in the real estate world, who I'm marketing to, right? I'm not marketing necessarily to the person that's buying the $250,000 and the $300,000 homes. By the way, we have a team and we help everyone from rentals.
Just in
at
case you were
1,000.
thinking,
Yes, we help anyone.
Anybody.
We like to say that we deliver a luxury service at any price point.
Nice.
But again, most of the homes that we're selling is 5 plus. So we have to understand what these people do, what they like, and connect with them. So when they see that, they can connect with that lifestyle. So yeah, it just kind of comes natural. I do have a team that helps me. I have a phenomenal team. I give them all the credit, but the ideas, technically come from me, and they help me execute those ideas now.
Yeah, man, it's so cool. And I see you now even doing more videos too, right? I saw like content creating with the videos and the crew. How was the experience going to Sosa's cage?
Man, it's so much fun. So much fun. It's funny, and Jay, who's now my full-time videographer, photographer, when he showed me the video, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like this, right? Because we're showing up and it's slow-mo, and I don't like to put myself as this like really cool guy. And I showed my wife, and my wife was like, no, I actually like it. And I was like, really? You like it? I was like, okay, let's post it then. But it was such a cool experience. I mean, Sosa is a class act. I can say this. I hope he doesn't mind, but I'm there. Like Mike, Stanton is there. He's when I was taking some swings, he's like, "Hey, you want to swing it?" I'm like, "Oh, I don't know."
In the middle of Stanton's session, or
no,
whatever.
he's well. Jazz had just finished.
Yeah.
So in between, Stanton was warming up, and now so I'm taking some swings there, and it was so much fun, man. I wish I could do that all the time. Just create content like that one. It'd be so much fun. It was a blast.
Yeah. No, it's so cool to see because you connect, right? Like you connect on a deeper level, and it's like I feel even great watching that because I'm like, man, like I grew up hitting with Sosa when he stopped playing and had nothing in a cage that has ripped holes in it, everything in Babcock Park, like, and man, just because of again how good the product was and how what he delivered was consistency in the value that he gave. Miguel Cabrera showing up to Babcock Park in Hialeah. I mean, Rusney Castillo, Stanton, JD Martinez, all these guys came from everywhere and anywhere to go hit at this cage that was absolutely destroyed because obviously the guys were destroying it. The guys that were hitting there were destroying it, right? But it was just the consistency, and now to where he is today, he's still as humble as ever, man.
Man, He's a special guy. He's one of those guys that he does everything for the people too. It's never about him. He's super humble. He has a great business now, but I know his story as well.
Yep.
See, I didn't know you hit with him.
Oh yeah.
That's cool. I met him through my cousin, Mike Anthony.
Yep. Exactly.
He's a great guy, and people feel that, right? When you have someone that you're hitting with as a coach or whatever, you feel that right away. Like, these people really care about you. They really care about your success, and they're in it with you. And it's not about my way or this is the way you got to do it. It's about you. How can I work with what you have? How can I make you the best version of yourself? And that's a good feeling to feel, you know?
Yeah.
He has that. He's a great guy.
Man, thank you so much for this, man. I'm so sorry for taking so much of your time.
No, man.
I know
Thank
you're
you.
a busy
I'm so
guy.
happy.
This was
so happy
amazing.
to be on the show, and I'm a fan. And thank you.
Thank you.